Hello, guys. Good evening. My name is Olga Feldma. I'm CEO and one of co-founders of Smart VALOR. Thank you, everyone, for just a quick check. This is the first time we are doing it in this format. Can everybody hear me? How is the sound? Just a comment in the comment field, just to make sure that you hear me, guys. All good. Thank you so much. So this is actually, an additional session to the Q2 update, which we recorded for you guys as a video, and we covered the top 2 questions. This is kind of like, all the additional questions that we collected from you and would like to cover here in this session. So let's get started. Probably how we moved the plan from tokenizer for liquid assets to full digital asset platform. There is also a question what the exchange from the 500 platforms, and also the question like how does this compare to T0, and who would be the main European or global competitors. So this whole set of questions is basically so here, first of all, of course, it's nice to be the first mover. It's nice to be the first platform for whatever. This first mover advantage, it's sometimes good to have, but actually, it's also a dangerous strategy. So what have we learned? We recognized real assets, right? It's T0, and actually, it's good and bad. But the good thing is like we could learn a lot from went for the first exchanges tokenizing real assets and securities. And in particular, what did we learn in the last 2 years about tokenization? We learned, number one, that this is a big game, and the game is starting, especially in the space of banks. So large banks started already to settle transactions between them based on the blockchain, right? Around 1.5 billion transactions settled, in the instead of interbank system as it used to be, and we will see banking and connection between banks. The other experience that we had, well, that if you take an exchange, traditional centralized, and just add settlement through the blockchain, this is an example of T0, but basically pack it in the framework, it doesn't fly. And it doesn't fly because the advantages on the tech settlement, fractional ownership, that's not good enough, because what blockchain changes is not, that it's just faster or cheaper, but that, people can do transactions failed to do, right? They did not reach that point. It was still the same regulation burden, especially in US. So that experiment did not really work out until now. And the third thing that we've seen is, that tokenized asset, or like, token assets, and Smart Velour is still on the path to not be the decentralized marketplace, but powering the decentralized marketplace, right? That means, within this components of decentralized space, if you think about it, right, what is decentralized marketplace? There are different components, right? One of them is protocol. The other one is the fiat gateways. The other one is compliance overlay. The other one is how do you deal with securities? How do you deal, right? So all of this is today not solved by DeFi's, right? So protocols work, but this is just a fraction. And for DeFi, decentralized marketplaces, to become really big, they need now everything that is needed in all the other marketplaces, right? So fiat integration, payments, you need to know with whom you, right? And you don't want maybe to sell to, Iranian guys or Colombian drug dealers. You don't want them to possess your company. So all is not figured out. And I think this is where we come into place and will be providing the infrastructure to power this decentralized marketplaces and tokenization. So with that, the short answer, we're staying on the same strategy. It's just step by step, right? You first need to build a certain infrastructure and structure. This is the goal for Smart VALOR. So I'm basically concerning the strategy overall. We will have like different topics. So one is strategy. The second one is dedicated to everything that is connecting to regulation. The third one is about VALOR. And the last one is about technical, like more technical issues for which Oliver will join me. So concerning the strategy, is that kind of like, what do we have in mind, that we're staying on the same lines and decentralized marketplaces is still the thing that we are striving for? No further questions. I see people are saying that the video is lagging. Is it the same for everybody? Is it the connect, or is it difficult to follow the flow? I'm just checking with my team. Looks actually all good. So great. Let's continue. So yeah, for some people it's difficult to lagging. Well, lagging is not completely absent, so this is as good as it gets in the place where we are. Second set of questions, they are more about regulation. So here you guys asked in which stage of the licensing process we are right now, and concerning STO, security, considering that the license currently submitted will be granted, are you experiencing an increased interest in use of Smart VALOR as a gate for tokenization? And what impact do you consider could have on the platform acquiring MTF license? So this is a whole set of questions regarding regulation. We achieved already quite a significant progress there in the regulation space. We are today in Switzerland financial intermediary and fund manager. We are adding wealth management services on the top of exchanges we provided right now. And also in Liechtenstein, we are registered and supervised as a exchange business, and currently applied and submitting the final documentation for within the Blockchain Act, right? This is this new regulation in Liechtenstein. Apart from that, concerning securities, that's completely different game, right? Concerning securities, we applied for organized trading facility in Liechtenstein and just now working through the whole process in additional documents and so on. But also we're pursuing kind of like the same license in Switzerland. So in Switzerland, there is this super new license coming up. It's called DLT exchange, so decentralized ledger technology exchange. So this is basically a new type of license which will enable guys like us, so basically exchanges, trade not only the question, oh, will it be shares or what will it be, just the question, oh, will it be shares or what will it be. With this type of license, you could actually offer any kind of securities, including derivatives, futures, and so on. So this is actually what really grows very fast today. So the whole space of derivatives, and there is, this track keeps moving forward, and there are so many people that are excited about derivatives and options and futures. We will also possibly to this space. So the license is not just for one type of token or security. The license is very broad. Yes, derivatives on crypto, exactly. Here, it's also important to understand, that also DeFi space as it exists today. Yes, today it's not regulated, but the moment somebody wants to trade a token that somehow resembles a security, it pays dividends, or it, represents participation in a business. So that means, even if it's a peer-to-peer exchange of ownership, right? So just simply directly peer-to-peer without exchange, without a bank. Yes, we can call for settlement, right? So one of the DeFi calls, and we just settle between us, right? Send it to you, you send it to me. But the moment it starts to become security, right, there needs to be somebody in the process to check the compliance to be able to buy this kind of security, right? So in this whole process, there needs to be some kind of entity involved that will, secure this regulatory compliance, right? And this is our ambition that on one of the first exchanges that will become big, we will provide this services. And again, enabling settlement of securities. And we kind of like already got started on this path. So the whole, DeFi program for us, it starts now with listing of DeFi protocol tokens, such as Kyber last week and PegNet this week. But this is just the beginning, right? We are thinking about how we can, enable enabling fiat payment in those networks, how we can provide a better taken, and ultimately, how can we enable the compliance overlay in this whole protocols, right? This is the most challenging part of the game. Good. So this is probably connecting the questions on regulation. So then I would like to move to the third part of the group of the questions. This is regarding token utility, ecosystem growth, what features and what will be added to Smart VALOR, and what was the crisis impact. Then there are also questions about when do you think VALOR will reach its ICO price? So here it's actually, different questions, and to some questions I cannot comment. I cannot speculate about the price. It would be like if you ask, Jimmy Dimon, a CEO of JP Morgan, when he can promise you certain speculate about the price. Our goal is to establish VALOR token as an alternative participation in ecosystem and in our business, and the activity on our platform, and also what people think about us, right? How actively we communicate and so on. So in terms of communication, we can do a better job, and we will be doing this in a significant degree. In terms of utility and how people use it, well, today you can use it as a currency to settle the transactions in a cheaper way, right? So we basically share the revenues. If you pay in our currency, we give you a part of our fees back. And also there is a staking launched last year, but there is a lot of things coming up. First of all, on the listing side, where we got started with Korea and Bitsum, this is just the beginning this year. Actually, in this quarter, we will be moving to list VALOR on one larger Asian crypto exchange outside of Korea. That's one pursuit. Then the other one is based as many of you probably now know, we have a certain allocation of VALOR, a certain VALOR that is currently locked up for the future company development. But at some point, we will need to decide what do we do with this fund, right? How do we invest it? Should we, that are part of our ecosystem and that we support? Should we, use it for building up infrastructure? How do we use these funds, right? So this is what we would like to decide jointly with the token holders, right? And this is why we are creating VALOR Global Council. You will get an invitation to register and submit your candidacy for election for the board member in this entity. And this way, we would like to make sure, that all decisions are taken jointly. Then, of course, there is a lot of stuff that needs to be done on updating information on different exchanges, on coin market cap, creating transparency, and so that all the token pods and funds can be validated on the blockchain independently of us. This is a big advantage of a blockchain, and this is what we are definitely preparing to do already in several steps and will be rolled out through the year. And ultimately, there is also a big question about liquidity. So concerning the liquidity, well, let's put it this way. Of course, everybody wants to be Apple or Tesla and have a super liquid share, or Binance that is traded in enormous quantities. But actually, the nature of young companies is quite the opposite, right? So think about it. Before blockchain, nobody was trading shares of startups, right? This is actually quite a mission impossible. And now with blockchain, we have it. And yes, those are not shares. But look what's going on. Like, look, Coinbase just announced that they will be going for IPO, right? And everybody in the space like, oh wow, this company is going for IPO, how cool is that? But to be honest, I think in several times there will not be big difference between IPO, where that tokens that represents some kind of participation in your company. And you know why? Because companies like Smart Valor will come up and will provide the legal framework and infrastructure for those kind of shares or tokens flow between the users in a peer-to-peer legal way, right? And then look, what will be the difference between New York Stock Exchange or Nasdaq or Kyber network, where you can then trade, shares of those companies or some kind of securities or participation in companies. And I think this is where the journey is going. We will see, a lot of tokens that are today not as security tokens, turning into security tokens and becoming, quite traditional mechanism how companies fund them. And on the other side, we will see something like, IPO will be done on Nasdaq and in parallel on some DEX where the shares, going out in the form of a security. And I think this is where the game changer will come, not for just Valor and Valor token, but for a lot of tokens that are today, thinly traded or, young companies, right? When we get to the degree where, there is a share and there is a digital representation of this share somewhere else, right? This is where the real liquidity will unfold. Um, yeah, and of course, us as an entity that pursues licenses to enable trading of securities. There will be also first question: what do we do with Valor? Does it stay utility, utility and payment token, or should it be transferred into some kind of like traditional securities? There will be all these questions and decisions, and certainly we will make a decision for the best of all stakeholders. So that's so much for Valor. Any other questions regarding Valor and governance, voting on Valor, Valor Prime? Yeah, that's a good question, Robert. So Valor Prime is still on schedule. The idea is, when we have on the platform a certain offering that is not available to the public, but available to, only, for example, people. It's like a little bit like Amazon Prime, right? So if you have a membership, you pay this 100 or whatever per year, then you have everything for free and super service and so on, right? So also on Smart Valor platform, and here, either you pay or you have Valor stake, right? And if you're staking your Valor stakes, then you have all of those services included and for free. So that's still on the roadmap. Staking for Pax Gold on Smart Valor. Joseph is asking, staking for Pax Gold. I'm not quite sure what is meant here. but probably I'll leave this question of to Staken to Oliver, who is going to join us in a moment. What about task force and membership? When are they planned? Well, they're planned long ago, and it's actually quite a pity. There are so many people who would like to help us and to contribute and work. It's just, when you set up and organize such a work force, there is also a lot of administration and, organizational work. So somebody needs to give a task and track the tasks and, define how much need for what. So it's just that, we try to focus on the things that currently and at this moment have the bigger impact. Um, and so this is why, certain initiatives are put on hold or moved into the future, and task force is one of those. Okay, here's another question. How about liquidity on the exchange? This is also the question that I would like to leave for Oliver for the second part. Here, maybe just a little bit last question that I would like to cover here about Smart VALOR for the rest of the year. So there are actually three things. So number one, I was super happy that we were able to help NEA Foundation to do the private token of the really very, very interesting projects in the space. Well, with a mission to challenge Ethereum, and they delivered quite significant results up to now. And this is why they raised 21 million, and big investors are on board, Andreessen Horowitz and so on. And we were executing their private sale, right? And raised quite a significant digit number for them. And for us, it was like defining moment. We understood, wow, we can provide such an enormous value. So what we're doing now during this month, we are rolling out a new service offering, which is a comprehensive service offering for companies, which goes far beyond just listing on an exchange, right? There are a lot of exciting companies that do amazing work, and they should focus on building their stuff, and we can take care about the rest, in market making, all of the services, right, that used to be framework to do it. So you will hear more news here. That's number one. Number two, we are working on a managed accounts service offering. So this is something for people, that don't want to trade themselves on exchange, want to be involved in this whole thing on daily basis. So this is kind of like, wealth management solution for crypto assets, right? We do manage crypto assets for ourselves and already for selected customers, and we will be rolling out this wealth management managed account service in a public way in Q3. So this is also what I'm very excited about. And of course, number three for me is a DeFi. I'm a big fan of it. I think this will change finance, and this is a tokenization of real assets that we've been speaking about for the last 3 years, right? It's just, it's the same. It's tokenized real assets, right? It's just like how they settle. Okay, so they settle in DeFi way, peer to peer, but we're enabling 80%. We can enable 80% of what is needed on the infrastructure side to make it work. So, and with that, I'm happy to hand this over. Here's also the question about custody of NEA tokens. I unfortunately I cannot, comment on this in a public way. And here's another question. Can you please explain your DeFi services you want to add on the platform? Trading, lending, and so on, right? So for the remaining questions, I will hand over to my partner, Oliver Feldmeyer. And thank you so much, everybody. Person that can be in the live stream, so I'll need to switch over to Oliver. See you soon, guys. Can be in the live stream, so I'll need to switch over to Oliver. See you soon, guys.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, this is another advantage of. Let me dive deeper into the questions received on the tech side, on the operational side. It was asked, when do we want to offer staking for ETH? And then a couple of other questions. Joseph, you were asking about staking for ETH. And then a couple of other questions. Joseph, you were asking about. Overall, actually, we do have quite a aggressive strategy. We want wherever possible, whenever the protocol really supports staking, we want to be able to well give these benefits to our users. So today we only have 2 assets that allow for staking. It's there, but in the next few weeks you will see that we will be adding other assets. One is in the pipeline, and we will shortly release it. With regards to ETH specifically, yes, of course, once Ethereum is ready, we will offer a staking for ETH. I cannot promise you exact date, and if you will do it from day one. I mean, as usual, our highest priority is keeping funds and assets secure, and all our technical infrastructure secure. But with Ethereum, it will be quite straightforward to run a validator node. So we probably should be able to get this one up and running very quickly once Ethereum made the transition in the proof of stake. With regards to Pax Gold, look, here it's a bit more difficult because Pax Gold as such, I mean, it's a stable coin and it doesn't offer staking. It's not a proof of stake protocol, and also it's not like a project that is doing some kind of incentivation for their community to offer these type of staking rewards. Be then in the form of a lending protocol. And on your assets, it's of course quite a different legal set staking, and it also carries a different set of risk, of counterparty risks, and so on. So this is an area we are investigating, what we interest-bearing lending side, but nothing has yet been decided on its implementation. Another question that came up, it was about mobile app. Do we plan to offer a mobile app? Here the answer is yes, we plan to do a mobile app, but we don't know yet when we will do so. With regards to the services and the features we are going to be rolling out over the next weeks and months, for the time being, we want to focus on, well, value add new services, something our platform does not yet provide. And while a mobile app is super user-friendly and great, it's not a completely standalone new service offering that's generating value for the user. And as far as we can tell, most of the users that are coming even to our website, it's predominantly still desktop or laptop-based traffic, little traffic from mobile. That being said, it's mobile, it's super powerful, and down the line it will definitely come. And well, we don't want to make a quick shot here. I mean, for mobile usability, this is like the most essential component. It really needs time to play out, and yeah, we need also prepare our tech stack to actually support the full mobile tech stack. So as of now, we are mobile responsive, and this will not change for the near future, but maybe going later in this year or going into the next year, I hope we can also move forward on the app side. One question, well, it's sitting somewhere between technology and business development. What partnerships is VALOR targeting on the enterprise side? As many of you front end of our platform. I mean, it's mostly oriented towards retail investors, maybe high net worth individuals, but we have been heavily working on the technical interfaces side and API side in order to offer easier accessibility for institutional clients. And one such potential partnership we are currently working on is with infrastructure provider for banks. So we are trying to connect with these players that are running the infrastructure of banks, and hence making it much more easier for banks to get into current infrastructure of banks, and hence making it much more easier for banks to get into current and on. So this is the area we are focusing on when it comes to enterprise partnerships. So this is the area we are focusing on when it comes to enterprise partnerships. It's the software providers catering towards the bank, and well, at the end, also the financial institutions themselves. I cannot say any specific date, but there will definitely be new exchanges coming up. Robert, will you list PEG assets? So as many of you are probably aware, we just listed a new asset on the Smart VALOR platform. It's PEGNet. It's another DeFi protocol. It's a stablecoin protocol. It's really empowering the creation of decentralized stablecoins that can represent any type and so on. And the PEGNet ecosystem has grown quite rapidly over the years, with many of such tokenized assets being generated. And well, as we list the basic utility token, PEGNet utility token, Robert would like to know when and if we will list also pegged assets. So we are in very close alignment actually with the team behind PEGNet. I mean, it's decentralized. It's not a project that's selling token up front. It's like with the ecosystem about potential listing of pegged assets. That being said, for the time being, there is not yet the liquidity so that we can really it on our exchange. I mean, you always need enough counterparties to be able and willing to transact. Otherwise, you're not able to achieve a stable price peg. So I'm very confident that the system, the PEGNet ecosystem, will continue evolving as it did up till now, and soon there will be sufficient liquidity, and then we definitely want to be one of the first movers here. Don, when will our application be on the smartphone? Yeah, maybe not the best. I hope when you look at the recordings, it's going to be better. So we will be moving onto an app at some point, but there is no time yet. It will not be in the close future. We have other priorities providing value-added services. And while I was talking also about liquidity, one of the questions that came up prior to this call was liquidity on the Smart VALOR platform. Some people observed that at times we are lacking liquidity compared to Bitthumb. And people would like to know what strategies we are developing in order to solve this, and to get more. We've been thinking of also on our end for quite some time. So, I mean, first off, actually, I already feel honored that you are comparing our liquidity with Bitthumb. I mean, we are fresh exchange, and BitThumb, it's one of the biggest exchanges globally with regards to order book depth and liquidity. So it's already an honor to be compared to BitThumb in this regard. And the specific question probably relates very much to the VALOR token liquidity, because we are on par or even better than BitThumb, at least if you come with a stable coin, which is not supported by BitThumb, but if you want to transact in any currency outside of the Korean won. But with regards to VALOR token, there is a much deeper order book and more liquidity on BitThumb. Now, as part of the explanation, on Smart VALOR, we ourselves, Smart VALOR, we are actually not trading, buying and selling VALOR token. Be the people buying and selling VALOR token to investors on the secondary market on the exchange. That's why we have engaged with market makers to provide this liquidity. But they have to operate somehow and they are trading it and they are hedging their risk on the other exchanges, well, probably mostly BitThumb. And the more market makers we get involved onto the will become. So here we are basically also talking very actively with the market makers, and probably have a call with them once per day, and we're really working on to definitely see movements with regards to the liquidity of VALOR token. And now with the new API that we are rolling out and giving more high frequency traders access to, this will also help to improve this liquidity. So over the next weeks or days and weeks, I expect quite a substantial improvement. That being said, if it's not fast enough for you, or if you really want to transact in large amount of VALOR token, you can always contact our what we call it OTC, over-the-counter trading desk, and token transaction. So whenever you experience not enough liquidity on the exchange itself for VALOR, please do shoot out to the OTC desk or any way to support. They can always connect you, and very soon actually an OTC feature will also become active on the platform. So I think I covered all the questions we received before today's call. A few more things popped up in the live chat. Let me just see if I missed something. What are typically market makers? So market makers, I mean, basically anybody can become a market maker, and it means that you basically offer the exchange. And of course, there are professional market makers that use trading algorithms and robots to constantly buy and sell and place orders onto exchanges, hopefully very small spread and slippage. Robert, custody for near tokens. Something is not just the custody. We are also quite eager on listing them at some point on the secondary market. I cannot give you a concrete time yet, as it requires quite some resources. I mean, whenever non-ERC20 based, but has its own mainnet and so on. It takes much more work, especially on the security side, to make sure we can really, our requirements are met regarding security and quite a long-lasting procedure until we can bring them onto the platform. So it will point, but you might have to have quite some more patience, Robert. So what other questions? Kim, when new stablecoins will be available on Smart VALOR? So currently, we do have stablecoins backed by United States dollar, and we do have stablecoins backed by and also what Olga mentioned regards to our DeFi strategy, we are very looking also at other protocols similar like PegNet and others that offer the possibility to have some more flexible crypto collateralized stablecoin as well. So there will be a couple of new features in that area, and also on the physically backed stable. Any specific requests you have with regards to stablecoin, please shoot us a message on Telegram or just drop it here in the chat if you would like us to look into any specific asset, specific stablecoin. Always open to suggestions. Can you please elaborate on the banking license light, Florian? Any deadline? What are our competitors doing in Switzerland? On the regulatory side, we are pushing, Olga explained it previously, we are pushing on many different fronts in Switzerland, in Liechtenstein, or even towards Germany, BaFin, getting the right setup for our crypto business, for supporting tokenizations, for then at some point trading in tokenized securities. Well, it's constantly a balancing of priorities and where to invest the most resources. Now the good thing is with regards to banking license, the work we are already doing in Liechtenstein with regards to organized trading facility and dealer setup, there's quite an overlap. And so we hope to be able to move these things in parallel forward throughout the year. That being said, dealing with regulation and regulatory requirements, it's well, we can only the back and forth process with the regulator, and well, it's not that you send something and you get feedback. You send something and it takes a few months, half a year or longer until you get feedback. Then you rework and you provide more documentation and so on. So the actual duration, yeah, it's quite open. We still hope for some good news on the regulatory side this year. Some things will happen next year. Okay. I think we're getting to the end of the time frame and also getting to the end of the questions. So it seems if anybody still has a question, you have maybe 2-3 more minutes to type it down. I hope for all of you this format worked well. I know there are some resources. It's just the case for the live streaming. At any rate, we will at some point, well, we publish this recording, but we will also do a short write-up of the key points of today's session. So if you missed something due to the bad connection, please do have a look at the recording or our summary afterwards. Meanwhile, one more question coming in from Kim. Would it be possible to have a Swiss franc stablecoin? Swiss franc based stablecoin, something actually we have on our roadmap as well. And be it our own stablecoin or listing one of the other crypto valley company stablecoins, it's something we are looking into. That being said, again, here we have the issue of liquidity. Do enough people constantly want to buy and sell a smaller portion of these assets or not? Currently, we have released the possibility for people to hold deposits with the platform in Swiss franc. So it's basically easy to trade any asset on Smart VALOR against the Swiss franc. The liquidity on the Swiss franc market is just as well as the euro and US dollar liquidity. It's actually based on the same underlying markets, just using the current day's exchange rates. So that's regards to spread liquidity slippage of the Swiss franc trading pairs. So for our users, there's little need for going into a Swiss-backed stable coin. That being said, down the line, especially if you look at a DeFi space, it will be more exciting and interesting to actually transact in a decentralized way for, I don't know, dividend payouts and so on with Swiss franc. But this is down the line. The other markets are not ready yet. So I think I covered answers. I missed one. Robert, Photoshop. On the picture, I don't know what our graphic designer is doing, if he's making us more pretty. Today I'm without makeup and Photoshop, and I'm still with my COVID-19 hairstyle. I hope that can be excused. With this, thank you all very much for attending today's session. It was you getting so many good questions. If you have, I mean, we do these updates regularly, quarterly. If there's anything, please do not hesitate to shoot us a note. You can always ask on support. You can always ask on Telegram, or send us emails, contact us on any one of the social media channels, and we hope we are able to provide you with answers. With that, again, thank you for participating in today's call, and looking forward to a great second half of the year, and talk to you soon. Bye bye.